Have you ever wondered why, after 70, so many people suddenly stop visiting others? It may sound shocking, but it's not because of bitterness or loneliness. It's because something powerful happens inside. A quiet awakening that changes the way we see life, time, and relationships. In this video, we'll uncover 6 honest reasons why older adults choose peace over pretense. And I promise the last reason will surprise you the most. So stay with me until the end, because you may discover that what you once thought was weakness is actually wisdom. But before we begin, let me ask, where are you watching from today? Type your city or country in the comments. I love seeing the wonderful places this community comes from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so now. Your support helps us bring you more content that speaks to your journey after 65. Now take a deep breath, because we are about to explore why stepping back from constant visits isn't about giving up on people. It's about finally turning toward yourself. At this age, you begin to realize just how much emotional energy certain visits take from you. It's not just the physical effort of getting dressed, traveling, and making conversation. It's the unseen weight of sitting through endless complaints, heated arguments, or one-sided stories where no one asks how you're doing. In your younger years, you may have brushed these moments aside. You smiled, nodded politely, and told yourself it was normal. But now every interaction feels heavier, and your spirit knows when it's being drained. Think about Richard, age 82. For decades, he drove across town every other Sunday to see his brother, but nearly every visit ended in an argument about politics or old family wounds. Richard would leave feeling anxious sometimes, needing hours just to calm his racing mind. One day, he simply decided not to go anymore. His brother didn't understand, but Richard finally did. He realized that peace was more valuable than routine. This is the awakening of emotional boundaries. It's not about being selfish, it's about survival. You wouldn't walk on a twisted ankle for miles, so why walk into conversations that twist your heart? And here's something most people never admit. As you age, you notice the difference between being truly wanted and just being expected. When someone spends half the visit checking their phone, you can feel it. When you sense that your presence is tolerated rather than cherished, your heart quietly takes note. That's why after 70, many people stop chasing one-sided relationships. Instead, they choose to invest their energy in those who uplift, who listen, who care. It's a powerful sign of growth. For decades, society teaches us to please, to show up, to endure. But aging teaches us to unlearn some of that, to finally honor our own needs. If you've ever felt drained after visiting someone and not refreshed, that's your inner wisdom speaking. It's telling you that not every door deserves to be opened. Not every invitation deserves a yes. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say, no thank you. If you're still watching, I'd love for you to type the word peace in the comments, because peace is exactly what you are protecting when you honor your boundaries. As the years go by, emotional boundaries become a gift to yourself. They allow you to preserve your calm, protect your spirit, and focus on the relationships that truly nourish your soul. And that brings us naturally to the second reason older adults stop visiting others after 70. It's something even deeper than boundaries. It's about how we begin to see time itself. When you were younger, time felt endless. You could spend entire afternoons at family gatherings or hours chatting with neighbors simply because you thought there would always be more time tomorrow. But something shifts after 70. Time no longer feels like an unlimited supply. It feels rare, precious, and deeply personal. Every hour becomes a conscious choice. Each morning, each walk in the sunshine, each quiet moment with a cup of coffee feels like a treasure you cannot trade lightly. So when someone asks you to spend hours in small talk or long trips that don't truly fill your heart, the cost feels heavier than ever. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you begin honoring what your time really means. You realize that every hour spent in draining conversations is one less hour to heal, rest, or simply enjoy the beauty that still brings you joy. Think about Eleanor, age 76. For decades, she drove nearly 3 hours every month to visit her cousin. They would chat, eat the same meals, watch television, and then she would drive home again. It wasn't unpleasant, but it also wasn't fulfilling anymore. One day, Eleanor looked out at the lake near her house and thought, I'd rather spend those hours sketching in the fresh air. So she did. She put her energy into quiet mornings by the water, and for the first time in years, she felt alive again. That's the truth many people discover after 70. Time is no longer traded out of politeness, it's invested with purpose, and there is no guilt in saying no thank you. Here's a question for you. If you had just 1 extra hour today, would you spend it in routine small talk, or would you use it to do something that nourishes your soul? Think about that. Your answer may reveal what matters most to you right now. If this resonates with you, type the number 2 in the comments. It's a simple way to remind yourself that your time is worth protecting. Revaluing time doesn't make you rude or selfish. It makes you wise. It's like curating a painting, carefully choosing the colors that belong and setting aside the shades that no longer fit the picture of your life. And when you do this, you find that your days feel lighter, more meaningful. You stop living for other people's schedules. You stop apologizing for choosing joy over obligation. You begin shaping your life in ways that reflect your heart, not just tradition. This shift is not about shrinking your circle. It's about deepening it. It's about spending fewer hours with people who leave you empty and more hours with those who truly matter, including yourself. And as you learn to protect your time, you also begin to notice something else. It's not only the clock you're protecting, but your emotional energy. And that brings us directly to the third reason many stop visiting after 70. The growing weight of emotional drain. When you were younger, you probably tolerated endless small talk gossip or even the subtle power games people played. You might have smiled, nodded, and carried on even when you felt unseen. But after 70, your tolerance for emotional clutter wears thin. It's not that you become antisocial, it's that you become emotionally honest. You no longer have the energy to pour yourself into conversations that feel shallow or repetitive, and you notice the difference more clearly than ever. Think of Charles, age 74. For years, he attended large weekend gatherings with his extended family. He showed up faithfully even when he left feeling invisible. No one asked how he was doing. No one really listened. Everyone was too busy comparing vacations or talking over each other. One day, Charles realized he was spending hours in a room full of people and yet feeling completely alone. So he stopped going. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. This is what emotional drain looks like. It isn't always dramatic. It's often the emptiness that exhausts you the most. You leave not uplifted, but depleted. Psychologists call this emotional selectivity theory. As people age, they become more selective about who they spend time with, focusing only on meaningful relationships. It's why you may choose one quiet walk with a true friend over a noisy party with 50 acquaintances. Depth matters more than frequency. Here's the truth. If you leave a visit feeling stripped of energy instead of filled, your inner wisdom is speaking. It's telling you that your spirit no longer has to perform for others. You don't need to justify your silence or smile through conversations that no longer matter. That's not coldness, that's maturity. Let me ask you this. Have you ever walked away from someone's house not just tired but emotionally drained, like pieces of yourself were left behind? If you have, type 3 in the comments. You'll be surprised how many people here feel the same. Charles now spends his weekends differently. He gardens. He reads books he always meant to finish. He takes long walks with a close friend who genuinely listens. And for the first time in decades, he feels grounded and whole. This isn't selfishness, it's survival. It's protecting the last drops of emotional energy you have for the people and places that truly matter. And there's something else to remember. When you say no to emotional drain, you're actually saying yes to yourself. Yes to peace. Yes to joy. Yes to being valued instead of merely tolerated. That kind of clarity is a gift of age. It allows you to step away from the noise without guilt and to step toward a life that feels authentic. And as you protect your emotional energy, you start to notice another reality. It's not just the heart that grows tired from visits, it's also the body. And that leads us to the fourth reason older adults stop visiting after 70, the limits of physical energy. No one tells you this ahead of time, but every outing begins to feel like a full-day mission. Even something as simple as a short visit to a friend's home can leave you feeling like you've climbed a mountain. It's not weakness, it's your body speaking to you with honesty. After 70, energy becomes a precious resource. You don't just measure it by what you can do in a single day, but also by how long it takes to recover afterward. A 2-hour coffee visit may cost you the rest of the afternoon or even the next day. And while others might wonder why you don't show up as often, they rarely see what it takes for you to show up at all. Think about Margaret, age 78. She used to attend weekly coffee gatherings with her old friends. She enjoyed the company, but over time, the effort began to outweigh the joy. Driving there, finding parking, walking across the lot, sitting in uncomfortable chairs, each little step took something out of her. When she returned home, her body was sore for hours. One day, she gently told her friends she wouldn't be joining anymore. They were surprised, even disappointed. But Margaret smiled and said, "I miss me too when I pushed myself too far." That's the truth of physical energy after 70. It is not infinite. It demands respect. And when you honor it, you realize that saying no to a visit isn't neglecting people. It's listening to your body's wisdom. Here's a reflection for you. How many times have you forced yourself to attend something only to spend the next day recovering in exhaustion? And was it really worth the price? If you felt this, type the number 4 in the comments. It's a quiet reminder that you're not alone in this. There's also a deeper lesson here. The body carries what experts call embodied wisdom. It knows when enough is enough. It knows when your energy must be protected, not wasted on discomfort or duty. This awareness doesn't mean you've grown lazy. It means you've grown wiser. Think of all the small discomforts you once ignored. Hard chairs, long conversations, heavy meals that upset your stomach, stairs that strain your knees. At 40, these were minor inconveniences. At 70, they can consume your energy for hours. So instead of forcing yourself to endure, you begin choosing rest over obligation, comfort over performance. And here is the beautiful outcome. By respecting your body, you begin to feel more at peace with your choices. You no longer live by the expectations of others. You live by the truth of your own strength and limits. If this resonates with you, pause and imagine what it would feel like to give your body full permission to rest when it asks. That's not quitting life. That's honoring life. And once you see this clearly, you also start to rethink another area. Not just your body's strength, but your heart's capacity to give. This leads us to the 5th reason many stop visiting after 70. The wisdom of emotional economy. As you grow older, you begin to understand that your emotional energy is like currency. You wouldn't spend your savings on things that give you nothing in return. And in the same way, you no longer want to spend your emotions on people or situations that leave you feeling empty, criticized, or unseen. For decades, you may have tolerated things just to keep the peace. You forgave too quickly, bit your tongue, and smiled through hurtful comments. You attended gatherings even when you were exhausted simply because you felt it was your role. But after 70, that mask begins to slip. You realize your emotional battery takes longer to recharge. Negativity lingers longer, and the cost of putting yourself second becomes too high. Let me tell you about George, age 82. Every Sunday, he called his son without fail, but instead of warmth, every call ended in tension. His son spoke quickly, never asked how George was doing, and often made sharp remarks about his choices. Week after week, George hung up the phone feeling smaller. Then one day he said quietly to himself, "This isn't love, this is duty." So he stopped calling. Not out of spite, but out of self-protection. Instead, he put that same energy into a neighbor who loved crossword puzzles as much as he did. Together, they laughed, shared music, and built a friendship that felt genuine. This is emotional economy in action. It's not about becoming cold. It's about redirecting your emotional investment to places that grow joy instead of draining it. Here's something to reflect on. How many times have you smiled politely while someone chipped away at your spirit? And how would it feel to finally say, "I don't need this in my life anymore"? If this resonates, type the number 5 in the comments. It's a way of declaring that your energy is worth protecting. You see, emotional economy is not selfishness. It's survival. It's a responsibility you owe to yourself. At this stage of life, you've earned the right to guard your peace without apology. You no longer have to attend every argument you're invited to. You no longer need to chase approval. You know who you are, what you offer, and what you will no longer tolerate. Think of your emotional world as a garden. When you stop watering weeds, your flowers bloom brighter. By weeding out the toxic interactions, you allow space for kindness, laughter, and mutual respect to grow. And here's the beauty of it all. When you stop giving away your energy to chaos, you rediscover yourself. You realize there's a stillness waiting for you, a freedom where you can breathe deeply without guilt, without drama, without noise. That's the wisdom emotional economy brings after 70. It's not closing your heart, it's opening it to what truly matters. And once you learn to invest your emotional energy wisely, something even deeper happens. You stop asking permission to value yourself. You begin to awaken to the quiet power of dignity. And that takes us to the sixth reason many older adults stop visiting after 70, the self-respect awakening. At this stage of life, you no longer ask permission to value yourself. The need to please everyone begins to fade. The fear of disappointing others starts to dissolve. And in its place, a deeper instinct rises, the instinct to protect your dignity. For most of your life, you may have confused kindness with compliance. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You shrank your needs so others could feel bigger. You hosted events, lent money, babysat grandchildren, or played the role of peacemaker, often at the expense of your own health. But after 70, the cost of betraying yourself feels heavier than the cost of disappointing others. Take Helen, age 76. For decades, she was the one everyone called when they needed something. She organized family gatherings, cared for the grandkids, even handled holiday dinners when she was tired. She told herself it was her duty. But a year ago, Helen made a different choice. She declined the next big family event. Instead, she spent a weekend alone at a quiet cabin by the lake. Her daughter was shocked. "Mom, everyone's counting on you." Helen simply replied, "For once, I'm counting on me." That single decision changed everything. Her family began to respect her boundaries, and Helen discovered the strength of honoring her own needs. This is the essence of the self-respect awakening. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly, usually after too many moments of being dismissed or taken for granted. But once it arrives, it reshapes how you show up in the world forever. There's a quiet power that older adults carry once they embrace this shift. You can see it in their eyes and the way they walk, in the calm steadiness of their presence. It's not arrogance. It's earned respect, the kind that comes from decades of being underestimated and finally realizing I deserve better. And here's the truth. When you treat yourself with self-respect, you show others how to treat you. You no longer beg for scraps of attention. You stop lowering your standards just to feel included. You walk away from conversations that drain your spirit. You decline invitations that feel like obligations. And with every no, you're actually saying a deeper yes to peace, to dignity, to authenticity. Let me ask you directly, have you ever said yes just to avoid conflict, even when your heart was screaming? No, if you have, typed the number 6 in the comments. It's a way of declaring that from now on you choose self-respect. The self-respect awakening is not about shutting people out. It's about stepping into your worth. It's about showing others that your time, your energy, and your heart are valuable. And when people rise to meet you, relationships flourish. When they don't, you still win because you're no longer depending on others to define your worth. This awakening is one of the greatest gifts of aging. It transforms loneliness into strength, guilt into clarity, and obligation into freedom. And once you embrace it, you see the whole journey differently. Pulling back from visits is not the end of connection. It's the beginning of living with authenticity. Which brings us now to the final thoughts of this journey, a conclusion that ties all 6 reasons together and reminds you why stepping back after 70 is not giving up, but growing wiser. If you've reached the age of 70 and noticed yourself pulling back from visits, choosing solitude over small talk, or watching your circle grow smaller, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not giving up. What you're really doing is stepping into a wiser, more authentic version of yourself. Aging, for all its challenges, brings clarity. It strips away the noise, the shoulds, and the obligations. It sharpens your vision to see what truly matters and softens your heart to release what never did. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Not every invitation must be accepted, and not every version of yourself is meant to stay the same. This new season is about evolving. It's about protecting your energy as sacred because it is. It's about choosing depth over drama, honesty over harmony, and truth over tradition. And while that may feel lonely at times, it's actually where your truest self shines the brightest. So if you've stopped visiting people as often, don't let guilt tell you you're selfish. You're being selective. If you prefer quiet mornings to noisy gatherings, you're not distant. You're listening to the rhythm of your own soul. And if others don't understand, that's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your wisest season. You've earned this peace. You've earned the right to put yourself first. And you've earned the wisdom to know that stepping back is not giving up. It's growing up gracefully. Thank you for being here today. If something in this video spoke to you, share it in the comments below. Your stories inspire this community more than you know. And if you found value in this message, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue to create meaningful content for you and for others walking the same path.